What is going on, everybody? So I am back today because Amazon recently released the first couple episodes of a TV show called Rings of Power, and that's based on characters from the Lord of the Rings. And I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I have been since I was really young. I always loved the movies, and I hadn't seen them in a few years, and so I decided to sit down and watch the entire trilogy of Lord of the Rings films. And so in one video today, I'm just going to talk about it as a whole, less of like a walkthrough, because I feel like these movies, you can judge them independently as to which ones you like, but it's a fluid story, and from start to finish, I think these movies are all absolutely amazing, and I look forward to talking about them today in the review. The Lord of the Rings series is directed by Peter Jackson. Young hobbit Frodo Baggins, after inheriting a mysterious ring from his uncle Bilbo, must leave his home in order to keep it from falling into the hands of its evil creator. Along the way, a fellowship is formed to protect the ring bearer and to make sure that the ring arrives in its final destination, Mount Doom, the only place where it can be destroyed. So over the years, there's been a lot of films that have been based on books, and a lot of them suck, and they really don't do a good job fleshing out the characters, building these worlds. And Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, not the Hobbit movies, which that's a whole entire other conversation, but the original Lord of the Rings trilogy are just absolutely incredible as far as following the source material. Obviously, it's one big book separated into three parts: Fellowship, The Two Towers, and Return of the King. And so it's a lot of source material, but Peter Jackson manages to, in this, give us enough of each piece for it to cohesively flow and feel really fantastic. And what's really interesting is, when I was growing up and I was a really young kid, my favorite was always The Return of the King. I absolutely loved it. I still think to this day that movie deserved Best Picture, 100%. But after rewatching it this time, I think my favorite film is The Two Towers, which kind of took me by surprise. But all of these movies have around 3-hour run times. If you watch the extended cut, it's even crazier than that. I just watched the theatrical runs this time around. But as the thing says, you have Frodo, who's our young lead character, who we see him in the Shire with all the other hobbits. We're introduced to Samwise Gamgee, Merry and Pippin, Gandalf, and obviously Bilbo. Bilbo is having a birthday party celebration, and Frodo has an idea that something is going to happen, and he throws this grand party, does this crazy stuff, and he ends up disappearing in the middle of his party by putting the ring on. He leaves the ring behind with Gandalf so that Frodo can get it, and says that he's going to go live out his days with the elves. And so Frodo discovers the ring, and when he gets it, he travels with Samwise Gamgee, Merry, and Pippin, and ends up running into Aragorn. And they end up deciding that the ring is too dangerous to exist, and the only place that it can be destroyed is in Mount Doom, where it was created. And so they form this fellowship, which is Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, and Boromir, played by Sean Bean. And they form this alliance to go travel to Mount Doom with Frodo. And the Fellowship of the Ring really is just spending all of its time building up these characters, creating this world, and introducing you into the plot of the remainder of the movies. And I would say for an initial film, it is absolutely incredible that for a 3-hour runtime, it's so brisk, where we get all of the backstory we need in a very brief introduction of expositional dialogue with Cate Blanchett, where she's like telling us about why the rings were created, the reason why they exist, and then we follow these characters to the point where at the end of the Fellowship of the Ring, Frodo makes the decision of, hey, the Fellowship's disbanding, this isn't going to work, too many people are going to be drawn to the ring and its power, I'm just going to take it by myself. Sam ends up finding Frodo before he can get away, and so the journey shows us that the two of them are going to be going together on this journey to Mount Doom. And then the original Fellowship, Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas go on their own adventures, their own side plot. Merry and Pippin end up getting separated from them, going their own way. Gandalf ends up getting separated for a reason and going his own way. And so you're getting all of these different side plots that work so well together because of how Peter Jackson manages in that 3-hour runtime to give you enough focus on each character that it builds that world up. So the Fellowship is amazing. It has great cinematography, a beautiful score from Howard Shore, and it's fantastic. And when you move into the Two Towers, that's really where you start to focus on Gollum finding Frodo and Sam and being the one who's going to lead them to Mount Doom, but he also wants the ring back, so it's that internal struggle that he has. And then you have Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli are going after Merry and Pippin because they've been kidnapped by orcs, and they end up getting to the city of Rohan, where the leader is being plagued by this sickness that's making him just essentially wither away and die. And that leads to the Battle of Helm's Deep, which is one of the greatest scenes in a movie ever. And then we also are introduced to Treebeard, who is one of my favorite characters in a movie. So fantastic, and his war with Saruman and the Tower of Isengard, which is phenomenal. And the Two Towers is just this kind of middle piece of getting our characters from point A to point B, but there's so many interesting stories laden throughout that entire runtime, and I am so appreciative of it. And then obviously with Return of the King, you have this final battle of Gondor, where Aragorn is going to take his rightful throne back as the King of Gondor. He's ran off from it for so long, he doesn't believe that it's his responsibility. And all the characters get amazing closure in that film. And I think as 3 movies as a whole, which you could do a 45+ minute long video explaining each individual element and segment of these movies. But what is so amazing is at the core of all these stories, you have Sam and Frodo, who they're one of the most incredible examples of friendship in film. The two of them, literally, Sam gives up his entire existence to fight and take care of Frodo, trying to sacrifice his well-being over and over and over again to make sure he's okay. The story of Gimli and Legolas, who are the most unlikely people coming from these 2 different races, elves and dwarves, who for the longest time can't stand each other, and the 2 of them bonding and growing together. You have Aragorn, who is the keeper of the peace, literally the person who everyone gravitates towards, who just wants to make everything right again. Gandalf, who is this wise character that just wants the best for Middle-earth. And it's amazing because you have all these dynamics that are so well fleshed out that it's each story has sort of like a moral compass and a moral heart to it that really just brings a smile to your face. Watching these movies again, I watched Fellowship and the Two Towers back to back, and I watched Return of the King the next day, and it's so fantastic when you watch them just in order, how smooth they flow and how amazing the performances are. And there's really not anything I can nitpick about them. I think that they're all perfect movies. It is arguably the best big budget trilogy of films ever created. I don't think anything rivals them for me. The only thing close would be the original Indiana Jones trilogy, and it still doesn't live up to the incredible effects, the time put into each individual character. You watch special features about just how much work went into the costume design and making sure that all the worlds and everything were done 100% accurate to Peter Jackson's interpretation of Tolkien's work. And I just think these movies are masterpieces. And I know there's been kind of back and forth about Rings of Power, and I still haven't watched it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it because this is a world I love. And even though my joke about the Hobbit movies at the beginning, I don't love the Hobbit films, but I still enjoy them. And I love things that take place in this world, and I just look forward to any material that has anything to do with Lord of the Rings because it's such an amazing and immersive world that I never want to leave. What are your thoughts on the Lord of the Rings trilogy? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I think this is one of the most perfect trilogies of films ever created, and I look forward to watching them every time I rewatch them. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.